The unforgiven. For something or someone or some part of ourselves to be unforgiven requires two things. It requires the person, the persona, the identity, the event to move outside the box of what a given identity can forgive. Because when we say unforgiven, what we're saying is unforgiven by a specific identity or set of identities. Now, culturally speaking, in speaking in community, when we say something is unforgiven, we mean that no one in the community has forgiven it. Or we can mean that somebody in the community has not forgiven it. So you have a pattern of energy called an identity, called an event, called a person. And we have another pattern of energy called an identity, an I, that looks at that other pattern and says, I forgive or I do not forgive. Now, this pattern and identity is going to have a range of what it is capable of forgiving. Hang on. And it's important to recognize that every identity has a capacity to forgive. That is technical in nature. It's like a muscle. This arm has a capacity. And whether it's 300 pounds, 600 pounds, 3,000 pounds, probably well below 1,000 pounds, this arm cannot lift. There's not a capacity to forgive. And so there is a capacity that every identity, every consciousness with a pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being has a capacity, a muscle, maybe incredibly tiny or incredibly big. There is a muscle, a capacity to forgive. Then there is a willingness. I could forgive that, but I don't want to. And there's a willingness. Now, the willingness also has a capacity. I'm willing to forgive 1 item, 2 items, 3 items squeak by, but fuck that. Go fuck yourself. Get out of here. I want nothing to do with you. That is unacceptable. I am no longer willing to forgive. And this speaks also to the nature of forgiveness, which is a certain form of acceptance. To forgive someone, we say, I will allow this to exist in my world. And of course, our world gets bigger, both positively and negatively, when we allow more of what is to exist. Because the fact that we don't forgive something does not mean it does not exist. It means that it does not exist for us. I never want to see you again. I never want to talk to you again. You are not real with me. You are not real to me. You do not exist for me. I am blocking you out. And so what is being blocked out? Pain. In every case, you have two patterns of energy. The identity, this is the one that we're talking about as the witness, the recipient, the receiver of pain. And then you have the object, the situation, you have the weather, you have the person, you have God, you have the universe, you have a child, you have a lover, you have the focal point. And pain is caused by the separation from and the longing for something very specific. I really want to be with you, number one. I really want to be with you in this way, number two. I really want to be with you this way today. And I'm not with you. That's level of pain number one. You don't want to be with me in that way. That's pain number two. And it's not going to change anytime soon. That's pain number three. Now, you can let go of the desire, of the longing for that, and the pain can decrease. That's one of the reasons forgiveness is a letting go of pain. I really want this, but it's not happening. It's not likely to happen. Instead, something very different is happening. I want this, and I'm separate from it. I really want to be loved. I want to be held. I want to be safe. I want to be known. I want to feel valued. I want to feel valuable. I want to calm my adrenals. I want to cry in a safe place. I want someone to understand me. I want someone to need me, to value me, to choose me. I want that very badly, and it's not happening. It's not happening. I want it, and it's not happening. The bigger the gap between the desire and the reality, the bigger the pain. I want to feel safe, and I'm not safe. I want my child to be safe, and she's not safe. I don't want my dog to be run over by a car. But the dog doesn't listen. The cars are going too fast. There's fear of pain. All fear is fear of pain. All pain, separation from and longing for. Separation from and longing for. So one of the things we're looking at in forgiveness is pain tolerance. Another thing we're looking at is letting go. I don't want to let go. I want to be in this relationship. But she doesn't want to be with me. I want her to want to be with me. But she doesn't. It would be so great if she wanted to be with me. But she doesn't. I want my partner to hold me right now. But she's distracted. I want these feelings to be important to her. But she's busy watching cartoons. She's not interested. I want her to be interested, but she's not. I want someone to care for me, but they aren't there. There's pain, there's need, there's longing, and particularly in the domain of human needs, the need to survive, the need to feel secure in that survival, the need for love and belonging, the need for self-esteem. It's not enough to simply say, this person isn't available, this person isn't available, this person isn't available, food isn't available, this isn't available. Just let it go. These are needs. They're human needs. I want them, I need them, I desire them. They're not there. There's pain. And this is some of the harshest pain that human beings can experience. And when somebody could meet the need, and they don't, when somebody could love us in that way, but they're not going to. They don't want to. They could, but they don't. There's a tremendous sense of betrayal. There's a tremendous sense of wrong. Because that sense, that empathic and transcendent brain, knows that we're connected, knows that it's important, knows that it's vital for the species, for the community, for the individual, that the need be met, that the need be met. Not the Lamborghini, not the Nike tennis shoes, the need for survival, security, love and belonging, self-esteem, the development of talent, the bringing of that talent into the world to create abundance, and the becoming something bigger, the becoming a part of something bigger than oneself. These are needs. When they're not happening, they're suffering. There's a sense of wrong, a sense of violation of the principle, the pattern, the identity that gave birth to all life. Because life gave birth to all things from something less than the size of a pea, according to the Big Bang theory. Out of nothing, life created 1 billion planets in our known region of the universe alone, capable of affirming life. Out of nothing, life gave birth to this earth. And out of nothing, this earth has grown millions upon millions of species. And out of nothing has emerged the human being. Now, this tremendous success, this tremendous expansion is based on a pattern. It's based on principles. The principles that can create an entire universe out of energy less than a pea. But human beings have freedom. They have the will to act in alignment and out of alignment with those principles. And when a human being needs, and another person who could meet that need refuses to meet that need, there is a violation of that principle. There is a betrayal of that principle. The principle that took less than a pea and made the universe. A human ego is saying, who needs it? That principle may have been working for, 25 billion years. It was so successful, it took the entire multiverse out of less than a pea. It's that good. But I know better, right? Fuck it. Who needs it? It's only the source of my own existence in all life. But, I I've got something else to do. There's a sense of hurt. There's a sense of violation. Someone's turning their back on the divine, inside and out. It's painful. It's lonely because there's a separation. Saying, I'm dissociating from all of life in order to do this, that, and the other. So there's pain, and every person has the capacity to tolerate a certain amount of pain before they die. A certain amount of emotional pain, a certain amount of mental pain, a certain amount of financial pain, a certain amount of social pain, a certain amount of physical pain, a certain amount of spiritual pain. Everyone can tolerate a certain amount before it gets too painful. And in the getting of too painful, the brain shuts down. First, the transcendent brain, because it is the most sensitive. It shuts down. Then we have the empathic brain. At a certain pain point, the empathic brain cannot digest and tolerate the level of pain, and it shuts down. Then we have the rational brain. And at a certain point, the rational brain says, this is too fucking painful for too long. And it shuts down. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to feel about it. It's too fucking painful. And then we have the reptilian brain. And here you have numbness, psychologically, emotionally. You have fight, flight, freeze. You have numbness from the reptilian brain. But if you cannot run from the predator, if you cannot feed on a victim, because the reptilian brain is sociopathic, it's not emotional, but there still is a tolerance point. The reptile and the reptilian brain needs to feed on something, financially in a capitalist cult, physically in a physical body. And while the reptilian brain focuses on fight, that which is smaller than you, run from that which is bigger than you, and freeze when neither of those are available, at a certain point in pain, you're dead. Your body shuts down. When an arm is separated from and longed for the wholeness of the field that is the body, when the head is desired but dissociated from the organism, there's too much failure and too much pain, and the body is dead, killed by pain. The separation from and the longing for wholeness, one's needs to be met, love, belonging, empathy. One is dead. Every identity, every identity, every pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being that we identify with has a capacity to accept and digest a certain amount of pain. And every identity has a willingness to digest and accept a certain amount of pain. Now, when we reach tolerance, when we reach our capacity, the box of pain is full. It's overflowing. We can no longer digest it. We can no longer forgive it. And so it is pushed out. It is pushed back at the ecology that gave it to us. You may have a victim who's cowering and cowering and cowering. And at some point, they give the pain back to the bully or the cult that enabled the bullying. At some point, they say, no, you take it. This can be a suicide bombing. This can be a abandonment of any effort to survive and an effort to cause as much harm as possible to the other. This can be revenge. This can be taking one's own life, which I guess would be more escaping the equation of having too much pain to digest than we know how to digest alone. But there is that capacity point. And it's easier to forgive what we can let go of. And it's easier to let go of an old identity. Because, when a child is killed, murdered, there was an identity, there was a longing for a future. A pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being. That was, we were going to do this, and we were going to do that, and we were going to do this, and I was going to get to be this. And I can love myself. I like myself doing this and this and this. But that future has been taken away from me. What's left? Depression, guilt, pain, agony, loneliness, too much fear to try again, helplessness. I don't know what to do with this pain. I'm emotionally illiterate in an emotionally illiterate cult. I don't know what to do here. I'm alone, and I can't deal with it. So, what do we have? What's the response? It's not forgiveness. It can be dissociation. I can't deal with this. I cannot deal with me. I cannot deal with this identity. This pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being is too painful. I can't forgive it, and so I can't forgive the world that induced it. They're hand in hand. If you can forgive yourself, you can forgive the world that induced that self. But I'm small here. I'm lonely here. To me, I am ugly. I don't like who I have become. I don't like this identity. I don't accept this identity. I don't love this identity. I don't like it. I want this identity to go away. Now, when I cannot forgive my identity in a context where somebody killed my daughter, I am incapable of forgiving the person who induced the identity. This is why self-forgiveness and the forgiveness of others are always synonymous, mechanically speaking. If I look at myself and say, I hate who I have become, and I'm in pain. See, hate adds to the pain. So there's no liberation from suffering there. And I hate that I'm now in more pain. There's no liberation from suffering there. And I hate that I'm becoming filled with hate. There's no liberation there. And I can't deal with it. I'm in too much pain. Over there is the one who caused the pain. They didn't look where they were running. They didn't put the brakes on hard enough. Your daughter's dead. And I can't forgive myself. I should have, I could have, I wanted to. It's way too painful. So I can't forgive the other person. I cannot forgive someone for inducing an identity in me that I cannot forgive. Okay, so I do not forgive myself. I do not forgive the perpetrator, the abuser, the violator, the one who initiated a sequence of events that led me here. I do not forgive them. Either I cannot forgive them, or I will not forgive them. Either I cannot forgive myself, or I will not forgive myself. Those are two technical capacities. And it is important to understand that everyone has a capacity. Everyone has a capacity to forgive themselves and a willingness to forgive themselves. And beyond that point, they cannot forgive themselves. And the capacity is defined by pain. This is who I want to be. Here's who I've become. I love this part of myself. I hate this part of myself. There's a capacity. I want to be this. That I'm this. Now, as we move then towards the unforgiving of the other person, we now have an identity, a pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being with a capacity that is unable to forgive the self. That is unable to forgive the other. Well, we're in an ecological framework. Life has given birth to everything that we find painful and everything that we find beautiful. Life has given birth to the abuser, to the abuser's parents who abused the abuser, to the abuser's parents' parents that abused the abuser, and their parents. Life has given birth to our parents who didn't teach us how to forgive. Life has given birth to our cult that lacks all forgiveness training in, you can go through high school cradle to grave in this cult. You can be guilt-tripped into you should forgive. But that just adds more pain, doesn't it? A should always adds pain. It doesn't change reality. It doesn't change life. I should forgive is another source of pain. It implies that I could, which may or may not be the case. And it implies that I'm not a good person if I don't, which reinforces the unforgiveness or the unforgivableness, because if I should forgive and I don't, that means I'm a bad person, which doesn't deserve to be forgiven. If someone forgives me and says, I see that you cannot forgive here. I see that. I recognize it, I acknowledge it, I empathize with it, I understand it. I see that you cannot forgive here. I see that that causes you pain. I see that you are unwilling to forgive here, and I see that that causes you pain. It's beyond your capacity to forgive this. I see that. And I forgive you. And I accept your inability to forgive. I accept the loneliness that brings for you, and I'm sorry for that. That brings healing. But you should forgive this. It's just another stroke of the wound. It's another form of alienation. I'm here unable to forgive. You're here judging me for not forgiving. I'm here unable to forgive. You're here pretending that I'm someone that I'm not. It's lonely. You won't even see me, let alone nurture and heal this wound. So there can be hatred then towards the one who judges. Fucking cowards. Why don't you forgive me if it's so easy, you fucking coward, you hypocrite? You think I should forgive this, and you cannot even accept that you who have not experienced this can't even forgive and love me? Go fuck yourself. Look in the mirror. Forgive yourself for being such a hypocrite. And so there's a flipping point. If we cannot forgive ourselves, we cannot forgive the one who induced this self. If we cannot forgive the self that induced this self that we cannot forgive, we cannot forgive life for creating the one who hurt the one who cannot forgive, who's creating too much pain to digest. I cannot forgive. I cannot forgive life. I cannot forgive God who created life. I cannot forgive other people for doing nothing about this. Everything is ecological. Everyone has a capacity to forgive, and everyone has a limit. Now, like any muscle, the limit can be increased. But we've never had a human body, however well trained, that's able to lift 30,000 pounds. We've had human bodies that can lift 800 pounds on a barbell, carefully trained, all the right toxins and chemicals and bodybuilding powders and all this. You can get 800 pounds. But we've never had a human being lift 30,000 pounds. Now we have our Gandhis and our this and our that, but there is a breaking point. There is a laceration point. There is a wound to the soul that is deep enough that a human being cannot forgive. Is it watching one child being tormented to death, deliberately to hurt you? Is it watching 2 children, 3 children, 1,000 children? How many children can you watch being dissected piece by piece, specifically to harm you, before you shut down? There's a breaking point for every human being. It may take a week, may take a month, may take a year. It breaks the identity. I do not want to be here. I do not accept this. I hate this. I hate the people who do this. I hate a world that allows this. I hate a creator that creates this and allows this. I want nothing to do with any of it. I will go insane. I will dissociate so much mentally, emotionally, physically, etc. I can't deal with this. What is the breaking point? That's also different. There's a muscle and there's a breaking point. Every human being has that breaking point. Now, there's also a competency point. Pain does not come out of nowhere. Pain is in many ways correlated with incompetence. Now, this is an obvious connection because every human being in the history of humanity has wanted to feel sustainably better and wanted to avoid feeling chronically worse. Every human being has desired and longed to feel sustainably better. Every human being has feared chronic intense pain. I am afraid of chronic intense pain. I don't want to feel it again. I don't want to see it. I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel pain. I want to feel good. That's innate. We're born with it. It's life's algorithm. So, what's the problem? We all want to feel good. We don't want to feel bad. What's the problem? The problem is competency. If you're highly competent at feeling sustainably good and not feeling chronically bad, you are a very happy person. If you are highly competent at doing that, you've made it. Now, competency ties in with freedom, power, and intelligence. Freedom and power go hand in hand. If you don't have freedom, you don't have power. If you have power, you have freedom. They go hand in hand. Power, the ability and willingness to act and create the reality we want. That's power. Freedom, the freedom to act, the space to act and create what we want. Freedom and power, hand in hand. Intelligence, the efficiency of the pattern, the efficiency of the identity for turning or transforming energy, time, money, and natural resources into sustainable well-being. If we can take a little bit of time, a little bit of money, a little bit of natural resource, a little bit of space, and create high yields of sustainable human well-being on command, by desire. If we can do that, we are intelligent. We have mastery, which is another word for competence, in the ultimate human drive to feel sustainably better and avoid feeling chronically worse. Now, there is no human being that is born longing for chronic suffering. Everyone's needle is pointing in the same direction. What we're dealing with is the intelligence, the power, the competency of the root. When you're in very incompetent environments filled with mixed messages, if you don't let me hurt you, I won't love you. Okay, it's a little tough to digest. I want to be loved. Okay, that makes me feel sustainably better. I don't want to feel bad, but you're saying I have to feel bad so that I can feel good. Okay. An incompetent environment, a low level of intelligence can lead us all sorts of places into meandering. And as we open up in the sympathy of a child, in the unconditional acceptance of what is, that every infant has, they will adopt the level of intelligence or competency in their cult at that moment in history, which is, of course, on a continuum of power, intelligence, competency, all of which is measured by the efficiency with which sustainable well-being is generated and sustained. I mean, sustainable human well-being is sustained. And so this is the direction, this is the journey we're all on. Some people are more competent than others. Some people have more power. Some environments are more competent, more intelligent. An intelligent environment provides numerous individual avenues at numerous intensities and in numerous ways for each individual to feel sustainably better. And downplays numerous avenues to feel absolutely miserable, be caught in a rock in a hard place, be stuck in cross-wiring and lies. Lies are a symptom of incompetence and a symptom of powerlessness. You don't lie when you have abundance and power. It takes energy to lie. Why do it? You lie out of scarcity. You lie out of fear, of pain, which comes from scarcity. All lies come from scarcity.